we're looking forward to an auspicious day of celebration of John Cobb's 97th birthday. The 95th birthday, a couple of years ago, we had a huge banquet and celebrated the change of the name of our organization to the Cobb Institute. But today, our task is to celebrate John Cobb's birthday. John Cobb, the reflective thinker, John Cobb, the warm human being, and John Cobb, the one who's fighting to save the planet. Jay McDaniel, you're our new Cobb Institute board chair this year. I want to give you the privilege of introducing John. I didn't want him to have to introduce himself. And you can introduce Rebecca Parker, who's going to lead us through some of the rest of the day.
Well, I want to be one of the first, but by no means the last, to say happy birthday to our mentor, our friend, our guide, and we're so happy to be with you today, John. And Andrew Schwartz has already posted a chat saying what a great group of friends we have gathered with us. And that's the truth. And one of those friends is Dr. Rebecca Ann Parker. And she's going to facilitate this with us today. I just want to tell you a little bit about her. She's the president emerita of the Unitarian Universalist Star King School for the Ministry in Berkeley, California. She's a teacher and board member of the Braxton Institute for Sustainability, Resilience, and Joy. She is the author of several books, some with Rita Nakashima Brock, who's with us today as well, and from whom we'll be hearing. And a collection of her own essays is called Blessing the World, What Can Save Us Now? Rebecca, we're so glad that you have agreed to facilitate the discussions. And it was my understanding that I would introduce you, but not John. But I'm happy to tell you a few things about John if you don't want to do that. So Rebecca, on to you, and back to me if you want. John, this is made up as I go. John is the author of approximately 1,000 books. And the subjects of his books range from Christian theology to economics, to the lives of teenagers as they search for meaning in their lives, to ecology, to ecological civilization, to politics. His first published paper was actually on aesthetics. And so if you don't think that you're in the presence of a person with wide range, well, you do think that. And it's just true. And John is a mentor for all of us. Now, he is the founder of the Cobb Institute, but he's the founder of a lot more than that. Because if you think the way in which we ourselves have been shaped and influenced by him, as he's been our teacher, our friend, our guide. So you'll hear more about John, but that's a first introduction. Off to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Jay. And we're going to begin with a little offering of music from me as a gift to John. And Richard's going to play that for us. Happy birthday, John. It's a blessing you were born. And we are here today to celebrate the many gifts you have given to us in the world, the simple gifts and the profound gifts, knowing that often they are one and the same. To begin, we have some tributes from people who have been touched by your life and work, former students who are now beloved colleagues, whose own gifts to the world have been extraordinary. And the first one we will hear from is Dr. Mary Elizabeth Moore, Emerita Dean of the School of Theology at Boston University and Emerita Professor of Theology and Education. Good morning, Mary Elizabeth. Welcome. Let's hear what you have to say to John today.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And happy birthday, John. How can I thank the most important mentor of my life beyond my immediate family? What has he given to me, to us, to thousands of others? I remember my first class with John. He held forth 70 minutes twice a week without notes before turning to us for questions and reflections. He spoke as if theology were kitchen table talk, as if anyone could comprehend the big questions if only they opened their minds and read, listened, and reflected on life with care. He connected it all, idea to idea, ideas to experiences, to hymns and prayers, to ecological, economic, social justice. My other courses with John were at doctoral level, where he parsed process and reality and engaged us in analyzing the interstices of theologies, multiple theologies, and pastoral care. I remember as a student being asked by John if I would like to sponsor a conference on education and process thought. I could invite anyone I thought might contribute to the conference, and I said yes, or yes. I was able to gather the most influential scholars in the field alongside emerging scholars. The conference was electric and edifying, all designed and carried out by a doctoral student whom John Cobb encouraged to step up and act like a scholar, convening scholars. John did this with generations of doctoral students who grew into their better selves under his tutelage. I remember a course in Barth with Joe Huff, when someone drew a comparison between Barth's theology and Cobb's process theology, to which Joe responded with eloquent explanation and concluded that he hated John's theology, but John was the best Christian he had ever known. I remember meetings of the Center for Process Studies when we deliberated what was planned, what was missing, who might like to take a lead in a new initiative. I remember a meeting at the Cobb Institute just yesterday when John Cobb exuded on urban agriculture in Pomona. Creativity flows in those golden moments as the many become one and are increased by one. I remember John's leadership in faculty, subtle and clear-eyed. He could read a balance sheet with acuity, see the holes spelled with an H and holes with a W in our movement as a faculty, catch our flaws, creative risks, dangers, and opportunities. I remember his one-time side comment: when an organization begins to publish slick booklets, you know the organization is in trouble. He was not critiquing our CST publicist, but pointing the faculty back to our center, to be an educational institution that fosters deep thinking, creating, and becoming. I remember when John and Jean felt the gaps left long after the Faculty Wives Group had disbanded. They had no interest in resurrecting the organization and the social structures it represented, but they missed the socializing, community building. They addressed the situation by hosting an informal gathering in their home. a time of delight. Of course, Jean still did the cooking. How often they gathered people when visiting scholars came to town. Hospitality was their way. I remember John's meditation in a faculty retreat, choosing the TV series MASH as his major text. Apparently, he and Jean were regular watchers, and he knew the characters well. He likened the peculiarities of the MASH characters to those of our faculty, and he described the power of the dysfunctional MASH community to tend and heal in the midst of war. Seeing that same power in the community of CST faculty. Our spirit was shaped by that analogy for many years to come. I remember when John and Jean initiated an experiment in co-housing with other faculty, when he wrote and began to speak out on ecological justice, when he stirred an ecological movement that spread and joined other movements in the United States and China and now in India, when he awakened people to economic realities ignored by dominant national and international leaders, when he spoke out on interreligious being and called the church back to its theology of grace and mission in local communities and the world, when he initiated a giant international conference on alternative futures and initiated and encouraged the birth of new movements and organizations and their leaders who blossomed and built these organizations into world changers. John, you have given us the gifts of metaphysical, theological vision. You have given us the gifts of community and courage to dream and grow. You have given us yourself, and we are all better for it. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Mary Elizabeth. And now we'll hear from William Andrew Schwartz, who is Executive Director of the Center for Process Studies and Assistant Professor of Process Studies and Comparative Theology at Claremont School of Theology, as well as co-founder and Executive Vice President of the Institute for Ecological Civilization. Welcome, Andrew. Thank you. Please share your tribute with us and with Dr. Cobb.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm not really sure how to follow Mary Elizabeth, although I haven't even heard Rita yet, and I'm sure she's gonna set the bar super high too. So here I am, sandwiched between two amazing former students of John, and I wasn't even officially his student. Although I think he was retired long before I came on the scene, and that's when he really got to work. So I think it's become pretty clear that John Cobb is in fact immortal, which is good. Whether or not he is objectively immortal or subjectively immortal, it remains to be foreseen, which is a great process joke. I think that Jay McDaniel was onto something with the claim that John's written more than 1,000 books. When you realize all of the books that were written inspired by John. And I think that anyone here who has authored a book could claim that John was alive and well within that text. So it may be something to that. All jokes aside, with all the former students, the colleagues, the lives that John has touched, it really is an honor just to even be among you and a privilege to share my thoughts about John's impact and legacy on my life and all of our lives. In fact, just to call John friend really sounds surreal. He probably doesn't remember this. I remember the first time that I met John, that master student from Nazarene Theological Seminary out of Kansas City. And I visited Claremont and I came and asked him for his autograph, where he graciously signed a copy of Christ in a Pluralistic Age for me. And then I went on asking him questions about John Hick, to which he's kind of like, why are you asking me questions about somebody else? I'm John Cobb, not John Hick, right? Anyways, but he was wonderfully gracious. Now looking back, it was a little bit embarrassing for me, but he was very kind about it. But to think that I went from knowing somebody through books who was inspiring me, being a sort of hero of mine, and then becoming his friend through years of conspiring for the common good in his living room or in his bedroom is my current Zoom background. Of course, that's going to result in friendship. And I am truly honored to call you friend, John. So what has John Cobb given us in the world? Reflecting on that question, my mind went two different directions. I thought professional and then personal. And then I heard that little John Cobb angel on my shoulder saying, everything's interconnected. So of course, John's inspiring publications, his ability to collaborate with experts from across different fields of study, his ability to dream big, as well as his ability to walk and talk in humility and compassion, and to put his life where his ideas are, right? To connect his theory and practice. These are all interconnected. And I think you put them together and what you have is an absolutely amazing human being, John B. Cobb Jr. I was in China, and I heard that actually John Bon Jovi was kicked out of his hotel room to make space for John Cobb, as the Chinese declared, Bon Jovi's not our favorite John. Of course, that's not a true story. But Whitehead said it's more important that a proposition be interesting than true. So here we all are telling interesting lies about John Cobb. And I'm happy to be among them. But the truth is that, our dear John Cobb really is a rock star in China. He's been influencing millions of people in China. And I think it really is because of that intersection of his ideas that he's promoting, as well as the fact that he walks his talk. People are constantly impressed by his down-to-earthness. So he's not just bringing big ideas down to earth, but he also lives in that earth. Who would think, right? Meager John Cobb. But most of all, I think John's legacy all is because of he chose good parents. Which is actually the explanation that he gives when people inevitably ask, how did he live so long? And that actually does give him some status in China, which I can only hope will be rubbed off on the rest of us. In all seriousness, it really has been a privilege of my life to work beside John, my hero, to participate in the continuation of his legacy with the Center for Process Studies, to partner with him and the rest of you toward the creation of an ecological civilization. As Mary Elizabeth had just said, when I was a doctoral student, I also found John to be incredibly empowering as a mentor. He encouraged me to discover my own gifts, to step into positions of leadership that have basically resulted in my career path. And I can't say just how influential that has been for me. And I expect that the next 50 years of my life will all be marked by the impact of John. John dreams big, and he inspires me to dream big too. And I hope to continue to be able to do that. There's no doubt in my mind that I'm a better person today because I know John Cobb. So if anything that you think is a good about me, you can give John credit. And if it's bad, don't blame him. But John, happy birthday, my friend. I do wish you subjective immortality.
Thank you, Andrew, very much. Our third tribute comes from Dr. Rita Nakashima Brock, who is presently Senior Vice President and Director of the Shea Moral Injury Center at Volunteers of America, feminist scholar, activist, educator, author of many books. And we welcome you, Rita, and look forward to hearing what you have to say today.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's great to see everyone. John, according to the Chinese way of counting, I wish you a happy 98th birthday. I'm amazed that I have now known you for 50 years. I'm still getting my mind around that. By the time I arrived in seminary at Claremont in 1972, I had become deeply involved in the civil rights struggle and was a feminist. I was beginning to have doubts about whether I could pursue graduate studies in a religion as patriarchal as Christianity. I consulted with former friends of mine who had gone on to Claremont ahead of me about classes I might take that I might actually like. They recommended Introduction to Theology with John Cobb, which had to be held in the Mudd Auditorium. There were so many students enrolled in it. Your lectures were astonishingly clear, but what has stayed with me from that course all these years was your use of real life examples that raised core dilemmas for understanding the Christian faith. They were my dilemmas because for the first 5 years of my life, I had been raised in occupied Japan by a mother and grandparents. My beloved grandfather preached at the local Jodo Shinshu temple and was my constant companion while my mother worked as a nurse in a US Army hospital in Fukuoka. She met and married a white soldier from Mississippi, and we spent a year on Okinawa, where I attended a military kindergarten before the Army transported us to Fort Riley, Kansas, and I got my first introduction to Protestant Christianity. It's also the year I really became fluent in English. The Baptist preaching I heard on visits to Mississippi required eternal separation from my Japanese family in exchange for salvation with white Christians, many of whom I found to be racist. I refused to be saved, but I managed to get baptized. Christianity had made no sense to me, actually, until I entered college. So, John, your theology course in seminary offered me a way to include my life experiences as a legitimate lens to examine Christian theology. However, the best class I had with you was your Christian Interpretation of Buddhism seminar. It was the first time my Japanese way of thinking and seeing the world were not regarded as a problem to be rejected. It meant a lot to me. After graduating in 1974, I returned to do my doctorate with you in 1978 because there was no one else in theological education doing interfaith dialogue in a way that made sense to me. 2 years into my doctoral coursework, however, I realized I couldn't write on that until I could figure out how, as a feminist, I could be a Christian. After all, interfaith dialogue required me to have a faith. So I switched my topic to Christology. You supported my switch, but there was only one book written on the topic. Who would be my conversation partners, you asked? I chose process thinkers, not so much because I saw myself as part of the nearly all white and male process school, but because it was a way of thinking theologically that would support my engagement with the work of feminists such as Mary Daly, whom you personally know or knew. She did not tolerate men very well, John, but she liked you. I would never have finished a doctorate had I not had you as an advisor and mentor and friend, not only because you encourage engaging with the harshest critics of Christianity, but also because your kindness, non-combative ways of debating, and thoughtfulness bear deep emotional resonances to my childhood formation in a Japanese Buddhist culture. There are lots of traits you share, I think, with men in East Asian cultures. That may be why you're such a success in China. They like you. And Jean and your parties for doctoral students were wonderful occasions for creating a community of scholars, some of whom are my lifelong friends, as you have been. We all know about your propensity for spotting new areas for theological engagement, which makes you the first religion scholar often to write a book on a major global social, political, or economic issue. I have found myself working in a similar way, not really deliberately, but just because you taught me to engage the world theologically. And when something has not been written about, I like to tackle it. I feel called to write the first or an early book on a subject and then move on, while not completely dropping what I found interesting. And you do that. I've noticed you do the same. You write a book and then later on you come back to it. And I learned all of that from you and enjoy talking to you about my latest interests because you are such a great conversation partner. This way of doing theology characterizes a lot of us who studied with you. We refuse to stick to the deep internal ruts of theology because a rut with two ends is called a grave. Learning about theological ruts in graduate school, we have been guided through your work, mentoring, and friendships to wander off into the vast terrains of planetary life and to think theologically about our lives in relation to the human condition and the planet. While you may not have many more years in your earthly body, you will continue to be a lure toward a sustainable future for generations to come. And I am so, so grateful to have had you as my advisor and friend all these years. So happy 98th birthday, John.
Thank you so much, Rita. I think many of us can be echoing in our own hearts and minds with the tributes we've heard from our experiences with John and saying amen and yes to these many gifts. We've asked a special gift for you today, John, and that is that the wonderful poet, Christina Hutchins, agreed to write a poem in honor of your 97th birthday. Christina is a process theologian, an award-winning poet. Her book, Tender the Maker, won the 2015 May Swenson Award, among many acknowledgments of her wonderful creative output. And in addition to writing poetry, she teaches process theology at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley. And Christina, welcome you now and thank you. And John, this is a gift, an aesthetic gift in your honor.
Thank you, Rebecca. Actually, as soon as your cello sounded, I felt such joy for this celebration. So happy birthday, John. I was never your student, and every single time I saw you, you have always said something authentically encouraging of me and of my work. Thank you. So this poem is you are the Whiteheadian emissary to China, and you're the end of the common good and interfaith relations and community builder, and someone who does all those things is very public. But you also are an author and an editor of over 50 books, and if you count the 1,000, as Jay said, if you count the grand books and the great grand books. So this is actually for you as a writer, because anyone who writes that much labors a great deal. This is called The Making of Ecological Civilization and the Writer, for John Cobb in celebration of his 97th birthday. An otter, floating on its back, rolls over, twists down, and a sleek subjectivity all its own, plummets through a forest of kelp and rocking shadows. The otter needs the kelp. When she nurses a pup, kelp will cradle them both. Bull kelp, delicate along the California coast, requires the Pacific's true cold. Small fish hide entire lives among the leaves, quietly glinting in sun shafts. A swell surges, nearing shore, and each strand of kelp, grasping its holdfast on the ocean floor, sways. The kelp, fish, the otter, now ascending, a trail of bubbles behind it. The heavy swell, sun, shore, all are one. And the felt tracings of the underwater moment belong to each and to none alone. Between a writer and a blank page, the world gathers afresh. So much is seeking to unfold. How we listen, watch, think, and fill the pages matters. The processes of our lives shimmer futures. Light passing through water, with or without a kelp forest, with or without an otter, emerging to breathe another world. Waves crash once and everlastingly echo on the rocks. We all will live in the gatherings of whomever is alive. Humans, the fish, the rocky shore, a random bolt of February lightning, even rage of starlight calm with distance, leaves, birds. How we become will live in their becomings. Maybe this is how an aching God will say great beauty through us. But over and over, grammars of intention fail the holy. Our categories, our divisions, comparisons cannot help but narrow a desperate, warring world. Though the breaking wave spending itself meeting its shore does not. Though our voices finding each other, our sudden laughters do not. Though ladled soup in a concrete city does not. Warm bread buttered, the knife shining, plaid napkin spread open. This is the gospel, this unfolding. An ocean lathers your ankles with splaying foam hands. An otter slips from a rock and shatters the jade green fabric of the sea. The writer keeps trying to hold the world, passing it through his fingers. A mind's transformations have become language set on a page, many books, and a soft voice has entered the voices of many people, widening the yearning. You can make a life by following the feel of such words, sliding from a mind, from a voice and two hands, water sheen from the rising otter. And as you make that life, new worlds are made. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Christina, for taking us to the depths. And thank you, John, for your relationship to the depths. We've heard about your influence in China, and we now turn to the special words of greeting from Chinese friends. And Mei Jun Fan is here. Welcome. And she's going to introduce the greetings we have from friends in China. Welcome, Mei Jun, and we look forward to hearing from you and the China contingent.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah. Happy birthday to Dr. Cobb. Yeah, my dear friends and my mentor and my guide of my life. As I said last week. Yeah, I met Dr. Cobb in 1998, Climate. That time, so I was a professor at Beijing Normal. So I'm so naive. I was so naive about what is ahead. It's ahead of me. Yeah. So in 2020, I came to Climate again. I was a visiting scholar at CPS. So soon I joined the China project at CPS. So that time I was wanting, because I don't know what is my future. Yeah, I have never thought that, yeah, my future will change greatly. Yeah, from a scholar to a process thinker, and from campus to the world. So I used to be a professor. I become a student of process philosophy, along with the whole process community in Climate. I feel so grateful to see I'm a part of a process community. And Dr. Cobb totally changed my life. I learned from him not just his Western, but also his life, the way of his life, how he lives, always touch me in every single detail. I shared this last week, right? So I thought every time when I met this kind of situation, I always feel I'm the luckiest one in the world, because I met Dr. Cobb. I met the whole process community. So in China, we always say, if you want to meet your loved one, you must you must save the whole universe in a private life. So I feel the same way. In my private life, I may change, I may save the universe. So that gave me this privilege to meet Dr. Cobb, to have a new life. So I always say I have 3 lives. So one life in my hometown, Chongqing City, one life in Beijing, and one life in Climate with Dr. Cobb. So he is not just change my life, also change many people's life in China. Yeah, we know in China, there are many foreign famous scholars. Chinese people know them, read their book, but they just do their academic things, work. So I have never seen a foreign scholar loved so much by Chinese people. From the top government to the bottom, the NGO people, the farmer, the villager. You know, some villager, they don't have a lot of they don't have receive the high education, but they love Dr. Cobb. In Nandu City, one night, Zhihe took him to cut his hair in a small shop. When that young man heard, oh, Dr. Cobb, this is Dr. Cobb come to Liandu. So they say free of charge. You see, so Dr. Cobb definitely much loved by Chinese common people. So here, so we have some Chinese scholar and the family. They visited Claremont many times. So they want to use this unique occasion to pay their respect, to say happy birthday, Dr. Cobb. So the first one is Ouyang Kang. I'm sure some of you here met him, know him very well. So he is the director of our Huazhong Center, Wuhan. He also is a former vice president of Huazhong University of Science and Technology. Yeah, he very support our work in China. He visited Dr. Cobb many times. I remember one night, I received him from airport. I drove him to Dr. Cobb's house because Dr. Cobb invited him to stay on the Pilgrim Place. So when we were there, so it's over 11 p.m. at night. And Dr. Cobb just took us with the key and sent him, leading him to their apartment. So those little details really touch us and Ouyang. He feels so surprised. Yeah, he feels so surprised. What a great scholar, yeah, thinker, did those little things for him. Yeah, so, and Richard, can you play his video?
Dear Professor John Cobb, on your 97th birthday ceremony, please allow me on behalf of many of your Chinese friends and in the name of mine and my family to extend our warmest and sincere birthday wishes to you. Happy birthday to you, Cobb 教授，生日快乐。Your 97 years life course is like a book, recording the rapid development of the world modernization in the past century, as well as your unremitting effort to promote modernity criticism, publicize constructive postmodernism, and promote the healthy development modernization. Your 97 years life course is like a picture, reflecting the mental courses of human beings in scientific understanding and the rational handling of the relationship between human being and nature in recent 100 years, and also recording your outstanding contributions to promoting organic philosophy, environmental protection, and the construction of ecological civilization. Your 97 years life course is like a song, telling the story of the Chinese nation's rise and the great rejuvenation in the complex world pattern evolution over the past century, and also recording your special concern in China's development, especially in ecological civilization and the remarkable progress of achievements. Here, we'd like to give our wholehearted thanks to you, your institute, and your excellent colleagues, many of our friends, Clayton, Zhihe, Meijun, and all. I erase the precious friendship and good time with you for more than 20 years. In the Spring Festival of the Tiger Year in China, we sincerely wish you happiness as good as Eastern Sea, live as long as the Southern Mountain. 祝你福如东海，寿比南山. We also look forward to shake hands with you as soon as possible, and wish you the year of the tiger good luck. 祝您虎年大吉. Thank you all very much for your attention. Wishing you a very successful and happy ceremony. Yours sincerely, Ouyang Kang, from Huazhong University of Science and Technology, Wuhan, China.
So our next Chinese song from I think the name is We Enjoy the Same Song by Professor Guan Jie from Harbin Conservatory of Music. She also is one of our visiting scholars at Center for Process Study. I think she plays this song at Ignatius' house while she was here.
"以上这首歌曲是献给我们尊敬的柯老97岁的生日之歌，祝柯老身体健康，万事如意。
So Professor Guan Jie said, long life to Dr. Cobb. So many of you here, Jay, Bob, Andrew, and the other professors here, and familiar with our Beijing White High Kindergarten. Yeah, you were there. So our next song was present by the children from Beijing White High Kindergarten. You are my sunshine.
We're saving that one for near the birthday cake time.
Oh,
So
oh,
go ahead
okay.
and share the folks that were traveling on the road. And
Actually, Ron, I think the next one is the dance from Aurora Fang.
oh, thank you.
Oh yeah. Next one, it's a dance by Yuan Yuan and her parents. Actually, yeah, by Yuan Yuan. So it's a dance of the ethnic minority. And so this video made by this whole family. Yeah, so the Yuan Yuan and the paper cut by her mom, Dr. Tang Qing, and the Chinese traditional calligrapher of longevity by her father, Dr. Yan Li Feng, who is the director of Philosophy Institute of Chinese Academy of Social Science, chief editor of the World Philosophy, a leading figure in organic Marxism study in China.
Hello, Dr. Cobb. My name's Yuan Yuan Feng. You can call me Aurora. I'm the little girl who took a picture with you when you were in Beijing. Look, the little girl in a pink dress, that's me. Now I'm a 5th grader. I enjoy reading, drawing, singing, dancing, and traveling. Today, I'd like to perform a dance of ethnic minority for your 97th birthday. May your birthday be blessed with love and laughter. Please allow me to introduce briefly. The peacock dance is one of the most popular Dai dances. The basic dance posture mainly imitates the shape of peacocks. The little peacock by the riverside in Lishui shows a peacock coming to the river to play joyfully. Look, here comes a little peacock.
So our the last one is a remark made by Fu Bingyang. He is a director of one center, our one center in Beijing. So now he is Dean of Honor College, Beijing Institute of Technology, Zhuhai College. So they made this video on the way of traveling, and they can draw. They stuck on the highway due to this due to slowing. So, Richard, could you play?
Dear Mr. Cobb, on your 97th birthday, on behalf of the Chinese Present Scholars, I sincerely wish you a happy birthday. Now, we are at Hengshan Mountain, the southern mountain of Hunan Province, China, to extend my best wishes to you. To borrow an old Chinese saying, I wish you happiness as the East China Sea and longevity as the southern mountains. We sincerely thank you for your great contribution to present thought, constructive postmodernism, and ecological civilization. In particular, you have put forward many new and valuable ideas on reflecting on the COVID-19 pandemic and exploring the future development of human civilization. It seems fair for us to respectively call you the sage and guide of our times. We sincerely wish you smile and happy every day. Finally, together with my wife, Lu Qin, we send you a happy birthday song. Happy birthday to you. 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 Happy birthday, John.
That was from the professor who translated Whitehead's Process and Reality into Chinese, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for all those wonderful greetings and beautiful gifts. John Fahey is going to lead us now for a few moments of open mic time for people who have let us know they'd like to add their greetings. Over to you, John.
Thanks, Rebecca. Yeah, my name is John Fahey, and I am not a student of John Cobb's, but I was a student of Rebecca Parker, so I consider myself a grand student of John Cobb. But more importantly, I think of John as a friend and neighbor because he lives right across the street from me at Pilgrim Place. And we're going to have a little bit of open mic here. We asked people to send in requests to speak, and we're kind of inundated with a number of requests. So we're going to have to limit it to 3 or 4 folks, and please limit that to 2 minutes. So I'm just going to take them in the order that they came in. And then perhaps when the program ends at 11:30 or so, we can open it back up again. But Herman Green, you were the first one to respond. So Herman, if you want to chime in with your tribute, that would be great.
I was not a student of John, or was I? John, I looked up your books, and here are the ones I've read. Christian Natural Theology, Introduction to Process Theology, Is It Too Late? Liberation of Life, Beyond Dialogue, Praying for Jennifer, For the Common Good, Becoming a Thinking Christian, Whitehead Word Book, Christian Empire, Beyond Darwin, Spiritual Bankruptcy, Jesus, Abba, For Our Common Home, and Toward an Ecological Civilization. plus many papers such as Why Whitehead and your amazing compilation of issues to be addressed at the 2015 conference on ecological civilization. I also attended many conferences and meetings you led. You helped me at tough times in my life. You faithfully and caringly answered my emails. You invited me to lunch at Pilgrim Place and to visits in your apartment. You and your colleagues at Claremont kept Whitehead's thought alive during the latter part of the 20th century and into the 21st for me and for others. So yes, I was and am your student. You are my teacher, my friend, and my hero in the faith. Happy birthday, John. You are a young 97 years old. I am, and we are, so glad that you are here.
Thank you, Herman. And speaking of books, a quick story. One of the things that's inspiring about John is his energy and his can-do attitude. So we asked him to sign about 30 or 40 books to give out as gifts as a fundraising event. And then he called me and he said, the books are ready, come over and pick them up. Well, Pilgrim Place is locked down. I said, well, I can't do that, but I'll call Ron Hines, we'll make some arrangements. 15 minutes later, my wife says, John Cobb's at the door. I said, what? He's out there with his walker and he's got the books piled up in his walker. Was going to get those books across the street, whether it killed him or not. So I love your can-do attitude and your spirit, John. And second, we have Bonnie Tardwater up in the great Northwest.
Happy birthday, John. Thank you for being born. And you are the best ambassador of Christianity of anyone I've ever known. And I keep thinking of you in terms of your being like a mother tree. I've learned this term because I'm surrounded here at the John Cobb Echo Farm with this beautiful Douglas fir forest. And the mother trees are the trees that are the very oldest and the very largest. And what we're now learning is that underneath, they are communicating and nourishing and aiding and in relationship with all their kin, other Douglas fir trees, as well as interspecies, all the other kinds of life forms. And you remind me of this kind of mother tree, for you are the oldest and the largest among us, and you are more connected than anyone, not just to your kin, but to all of us in an interspecies creation. And it has been such a great honor on so many levels. And most recently in China, I got to witness that you are a rock star there. And then you have gone on to inspire us to begin the Living Earth movement. And this is a new movement, and we all invite you to the next the birthday party at the end of the month on February 25th at 4 o'clock Pacific time. And this new movement is so inspiring. And I hope you have the best year ever, John, because you're the only person I know who would just keep going with your inspiration and your gifts and your relatedness. And I want to say, Gambei, I wish you a Chinese blessing. And may this be your best year ever. And thank you, John, for all the ways you have transformed all of our fear and our grief about what's happening on our planet to an invitation to get to work and to be in community together. So I am grateful, like everyone here, for all that you've given us and look forward to working with you in the coming year. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Bonnie. And our third speaker is Jackie Gingrich. And I thought John Gingrich was the first chairman of the board, but Ron said John Cobb was the first chairman of the board, but only for 24 hours. And then he gave it to John Gingrich. And then John Gingrich, unfortunately, passed away, a dear friend and mentor to many of us. And then I became the chairman of the board. And for those of you who don't know, Jay McDaniel's first name is John. So I don't want that to discourage any of the Als or the Bills or anyone else, but we dearly miss John Gingrich, and Jackie, we'll turn it over to you for some words. And then I think we're going to move into the interview that Rebecca has for John Cobb. All yours, Jackie.
I think a lot of us are remembering the first time that we met John Cobb. And I certainly am this morning. And that memory goes back to 1967 when John and I were asked to host a get together for a visiting scholar in our little apartment. And as I stood at the door that evening, I was surprised to see faculty members talking to each other, streaming by me, not even bothering to stop to say hello. And then John Cobb arrived. And in his kind way, he reached out his hand and he introduced himself. And before he left that evening, he made sure that he found me to thank me for hosting and for supplying refreshments. And we only talked a little bit, but I felt seen by him. And that moment became energized in my memory. Of course, at that time, we had no idea, John, how much you were going to affect our lives. As you taught process theology to John, it changed the way he viewed God, religion, the world. And as he shared with me what he learned, it changed my views too. He always enjoyed the projects that he had with you over the years. And especially in later years, he was honored that you invited him to be part of this group that became the Cobb Institute. I think you will remember his great delight in being able to say that how many 70-year-old students can introduce their 90-year-old professors. And of course, as the years went on, those numbers grew. Because he departed from us so suddenly, I don't know if he ever had a chance to really thank you for the immense impact you had on his life. But I hope that somehow you know his great regard for you and his gratitude for the relationship that you had together. And he never tired of sitting beside you and continuing to learn. Happy birthday, John.
Thank you, Jackie. And I think we'll turn it back over to the program to stay on track. And then at 11:30, we can maybe open it back up again for people's sharing.
Thank you, everyone. Well, John, you've heard from us and many of us, and we want to hear from you. So I want to ask you to reflect a bit on what you've learned by getting old. You've achieved a venerable, honorable age. And to be 97 and embarking as you are on new projects that express your commitments and your hopes is a sign to all of us of the creativity and persistence that we hope to emulate as well. Some would call it youthfulness, and we celebrate that, but age has its own awareness and brings a different kind of depth than youth has. And we want to ask you if there are things that you sense and feel now that you can speak to that you didn't know as a youth, that the gift of your long life has shown you.
Well, that's a challenging question.
Mm-hmm.
It is objective, not simply because of age, but because I've lived into a really very different period of my life. That is, for most of my life, this is not a complaint at all, but I have been very marginal. I've been on the extreme margin of the church. I've been on the extreme margin of the university. Mm-hmm. And in the last 2 or 3 years, maybe a little longer than that, but I'm almost mainstream. Mm. It's not because I've changed, but the reason is really an awful reason. I've been predicting terrible things, and terrible things are beginning to happen.
Mhm.
And so, whereas for most of my life, people would be, well, that's an interesting possibility, or something like that, you know. But basically, the vast majority of the university and of the church has not wanted to take seriously, in a genuinely serious way, the fact that we were on an unsustainable course.
Mhm.
And now there are lots of people who are taking it seriously.
Mhm.
So that's because living this long has lived into a different period.
Mhm.
And having been one of the few Americans who is, what should I say, who is trusted by the Chinese leadership,
Mhm.
has made me feel new possibilities and new responsibilities.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I have not faded a little bit more into the background. I felt it was important to try, because the dangers, when our president repeatedly says that China is our #1 enemy,
Mhm.
and it doesn't sound like he's using the word enemy in a casual way.
Mhm.
Sounds, and our foreign policy centers on being anti-Chinese.
Yeah.
And the one thing that both political parties will agree on is China is the villain. We have to give the Pentagon even more money than it asked for, so they can show China. That's a frightening time. And I won't go into any more detail, but I think we have been closer to a nuclear war, right now, closer to a nuclear war than we have been for a very long time. So it doesn't encourage me to retire and relax.
Right. I remember vividly, John, when I first met you, as it was 45 years ago, I suppose now, at a time when the situation in the world seemed very dire. The ecological crisis, those of us who were young then were aware of it, the nuclear proliferation, global poverty. And I remember saying to you, what should we do when it looks like nothing is going to matter, when despair seems like the reasonable, and if it is too late? And you said then, it very well may be too late, but it still matters that we do what we believe is important. And that was oddly an encouraging word, that we did not have to weigh our lives against success, but against faithfulness to what we love and to what matters. That has helped me my whole life live with the sense that we're already in a post-apocalyptic world. Mm-hmm. And to live with cherishing, with love, and with the kind of responsive hope that takes into account the fullness of the tragedies unfolding around us, and stay engaged. But remembering that, and I hear echoes of that now, but to young people today who feel an even more uncertainty and temptation to simply withdraw, what would you say?
Mm-hmm. Well, I try to be a disciple of the man who failed.
All right.
And when one, I mean, I think that the fact that the Jews continue to revolt, and actually Jerusalem was destroyed, and they were all forced to leave their land, that was pretty drastic. Not comparable to what we face, because they could go to other places. But once we have destroyed this planet, there might be one or two people who spent some time on the moon or something, but there really isn't anywhere we can go. So it's in one sense, failing now is worse. But I think the way Jesus failed and what he taught in the process of failing was a great success. And I don't think that it's likely that the human race will disappear completely. I don't think, I mean, it may, that's not impossible. But if there are 1 billion people left, and of course that would, what I'm describing was a horrible, horrible world in which 9 people out of 10 die. So I mean that's total, that's failure. I mean the hope was to enable the humanity to transform itself into a sustainable world and continue without horrible, horrible destruction. Whatever is left can still be affected by the way we fail. And so I think practically speaking, what I encourage people now to do is to work on small localities, and just for people, if people in your town can feed themselves, their chances of many of them surviving really horrible things is much greater. So the idea that we can't prevent horrible things from happening doesn't mean that we can't make a difference. So I'm active in Pomona and has a program. I mean, there are some people in Pomona who are working toward the idea of Pomona being able to feed itself. Now they're a long, long way from getting there. But any progress you can make in an area like that may make a difference. I think the worst thing, it would be nuclear war. That's why I'm speaking of that. The US has enough nuclear bombs to wipe out human life 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And if we decide that's what we want to do, I don't know how to prevent us, but we haven't decided that yet. That is not beyond the possibility of influence.
Right. John, thank you for these words right now. And I will carry this with me to be a disciple of the man who failed.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
I want to show this picture. This was taken at the Beijing kindergarten. The woman who did the peacock dance said she was a student there. And I think we're going to hear them singing again.
We are in just a moment. And John, I want to say this as we close this time, and then we're going to hear the children, and we think maybe a birthday cake is arriving in a moment for you too.
I heard some noise and I really expected it to be brought here. I'll see if it's been put down. Oh,
You need to sit down because I have instructions, Mr. Cobb.
okay.
Okay.
All right.
I am lighting the candles as we speak. Sir.
She's lighting the candles as we
Hope
speak.
it comes with ice cream, John.
Okay, the cake is coming, and I think, hey, Jay McDaniel, maybe you'll lead us in singing happy birthday if we can. John, you have to figure out the technology so we can see your cake and so we can enjoy it.
Okay, everybody, it's in the key of G.
There
it
comes
on?
the key.
Oh, here it
There
is.
comes the cake. Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear John. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
Make your wish.
And then blow it out.
Yeah, make a wish, John.
Oh,
Make
do
a
I
wish.
make it out loud? Okay. Well, I wish that if I have another year, that it be the year in which we bring peace to the world.
Yeah.
In every moment of beauty and joy and happiness lives eternally in the heart of God. So whatever the future brings, no moment of joy or goodness or love is ever lost. And you are such a joy for us, John.
Let's see.
Let there be joy in the midst of all our struggles.
I think this is a good time for the song from the children in the Beijing kindergarten.
Oh,
Whitehead Kindergarten.
The Whitehead Kindergarten is going to sing.
Wow. Thank you.
Somehow the happiness of those children is worth lots and lots of everything. And even if they can't live a full life, if horrible things happen in the future, the energy and the joy in life that they've had now, just worth everything.
Okay.
John Fahey, are you ready to help us have some more conversations? Thank you, Rebecca, for helping us put all this together. And John, we'll let you, there's lots of other people who'd like to say some things.
Well,
I think maybe we'll ask people to raise their hands using the function of the reactions on your screen. And then John can keep track better of who wants to talk next.
Please
This
go
is
ahead.
Ignacio. Yeah, well,
Ignacio.
okay. I think as I looked at the list of people in the chat and in the and that's when we had more than 70 people. I didn't see anybody who knew John for as long as I have known him. I met him in September of 1964. So if anybody is here that has known him longer than that, let me know. But I think I'm the one who has known him the longest. And I also lived with him in the commune that was created after the 1972 Alternatives to Catastrophe Conference, and got to know him and the whole family very close, very tightly. But I also feel very honored to have taken him to several countries in Latin America. We had a conference in Bogota, Colombia, at the Jesuit Pontifical University there. It's called in Spanish La Javeriana, Xavier University of Colombia. And that was an incredible encounter. And then later on, several years later, John wanted to go see Iguazu Falls in Brazil. And he had a stroke shortly before that. And when I told him, I guess that means the trip is off. And he said, no, no way. So we had a wonderful time in Brazil where he gave 3 major lectures at a Pontifical University in Curitiba, at the Methodist University in Sao Paulo, and at the Federal University in Brasilia. So that was just a tremendous trip, you know, after I thought that was going to be off because of a stroke. But a stroke did not stop John. And I believe that his subjective immortality, whether or not he'll ever get the objective immortality, the subjective immortality will keep on having a major influence on the world that we have. I think we need to keep on hoping for the best, working for the best, and this new body that we created to appeal to both the leaders of the world and the masses of the world, to ask that the big countries cooperate in the creation of a better world, and in the creation of an integral ecology or ecological civilization that grew out of benediction at a church. Imagine China and the United States cooperating. And it's not just the presidents of those 2 countries, but the little children of those 2 countries and of all the countries that need to work together. Happy birthday, John.
Thank you, Nacho.
Anand, did you want to share a few words? I know you had emailed earlier, if you would like to.
Okay.
Here you go.
Now I'm watching all these great things John has accomplished in China. And we had a meeting last November where John came and addressed a group of theological institution in India. We now have 54 theological institutions who have signed up. Should there be a training program on ecological civilization that was kind of inspired by John Cobb's initiative when he spoke at that meeting. So we are having a Meghallian conference, All India Conference on Sustainable Environment, end of this year. And we wish John Cobb can come and address once again that group and put us on the pathway to what you were able to accomplish in China. In India, of course, theological education to become center of university, that is not a possibility. What John would wish that happened here, but at least we have this captive audience of this many theological institutions. And we have a gentleman by the name Sanjay Thul here. He can speak, he put a letter here for all of you to share. Sanjay, are you around there? I don't see you here. Can you say a few words? And what do you think you can? He's the one who is coordinating. Sorry, not many people from India wanted to participate, but our time difference is so bad and internet is so unreliable. So Sanjay, say a few words to John and motivate him to come back again to India.
Thank you very much and wish you a happy birthday, dear John. It is Sanjay from India. It is the date is 9 and the time is 1:10 a.m. Once again, thank you to all the friends that have joined to celebrate the birthday of John. On behalf of my family, the principals and the faculties of theological colleges and seminaries that have joined together on the meeting of 17th November 2021. John, God's blessings of good health and strength to you to utter all that you desire for him and to his people around the world, and especially to India. We look forward for Meghalayan conference and your visit. We are getting inspired for better eco-civilization through the process theology that you have promoted all through your life. We are so grateful to God and to you for helping students from India to learn from you and to be equipped to environmental concern for fulfillment of God's mandate of Genesis 1:28. We also look forward for all churches, non-church agencies, colleges and seminaries to enhance the curriculum towards ecological balances. We thank God for raising Reverend Dr. Anand Veeraraj and many of you who are here to celebrate, who are so very dear to the heart of dear Dr. John Cobb's with this mission. One such practical outcome of the conservation is Sun Oven for the tribals and villages of India, where wood is used for cooking food at the cost of jungles. Once again, it is our prayer to God to grant you strength and help so that you would utter all that is for the better of the civilization of the world. Thank you for appealing to the international leadership towards better eco-civilization. God bless you, John. and all the friends that are here celebrating 97th birthday. God bless you. Sanjay Tul from India.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you.
It's quite an amazing global celebration here. There was a message earlier that Bill McClellan and Sung had created a little, a short song tribute that I think we might be able to run here for a minute. If Sung, if you wanted to take a moment to introduce the song, Bill thinks he'll be able to run it. So.
Well, first of all, John,
Bill
happy birthday. Because of your birthday, we come up with this occasion. We dream about playing instrument together, which we haven't done at all. But because of your birthday occasion, we decide to get together at Bill's house, Bill's wife, and we practice, we recorded it. But I'm not too sure that recorded version was reached to Richard. Is that playing or not playing?
I don't have a copy, but I guess Bill does. And Bill, you can share if you're comfortable sharing. You're welcome to share. Oh, there we go.
Thank you, Bill and Yoshiko and Sung.
Thank you. Happy birthday, John.
Birthday, John.
Thank you.
We have a request from Zuha to say a few words. Is he there? Yeah.
Happy birthday, John.
Thank you.
How's the taste of your birthday cake? Okay.
I think that this is not, this is the real thing.
Yeah, never.
If it were big, I'd take it down to to share, but I think at this size, I'm probably going to have to eat it all myself.
I remember you're the guy who love to share, right? For many
Not when it comes
years,
to cake. Yeah. No.
for many years, Dr. Cobb and May in the process of a competition, who become my #1 slave. I think May tried her best, but still failed. Right now, Dr. Cobb still a champion. Yeah, because whatever assignment I gave him, he can finish it immediately without any complaint. So sometimes the May said you can use a person over 90 so hard, okay? But I don't look like Dr. Cobb feel very happy to be used, right? Yeah, this is the so look, right? My slogan is that if you want to live a long life like Dr. Cobb, come to me. Let me use you. Okay, thank you.
Well, I know that Shehe has remarkable understanding of what is good to do in China and when it's good to do it. So when he asks me to do something, I assume it's the right thing to do at the right time. And I think that what he has accomplished in China is such almost unbelievable. I get a lot of credit for it, but the people who really do it are Shehe and May, not me.
Thank you, John.
Are you raising your hand, Jay?
Yeah. John, there's somebody in my mind that's also in your mind and heart that I want to lift up her name. And I'm talking about Jean.
Uh-huh.
And I have so many memories of going to your apartment and the way you took care of Jean, but the way Jean took care of you also.
Oh, yes.
You were a team, you were a pair, you each had your gifts. And I loved you both and still love you both. And I have memories of going to your apartment in Jean's more difficult years at the end. One thing that never left Jean was a love of music.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go and I'd say, let's sing a song. And Jean was on board.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what song always worked? And she just loved? You Are My Sunshine.
Yes.
That was her song. And I couldn't help but think of Jean as I watched the children sing You Are My Sunshine. And I'm on board with you. Yes, the children singing, that's a moment of joy nested in the heart of God now. And so were those moments with you and Jean in your apartment. I don't know when her birthday is.
April 20th.
But okay, well, when I sing happy birthday, I'm singing it to her too. And I think we all are. So here's to Jean and here's to you. And thank you both. And here's to your children as well and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren.
Yeah. I want people to see this. I showed it before the meeting began, but this is a picture that has my 7 great.
Hold it higher. Hold it higher.
We got the picture, and then one of them arranged to have it turned into a jigsaw puzzle. So then I had to put the jigsaw puzzle together.
Well, let them be our sunshines too.
Yeah.
Lots of sunshines.
That's what John does when he isn't writing a book. He works jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah. Or when he's not negotiating world peace or building a sustainable future for all life forms. Then he does puzzles.
It's really a fascinating addiction. We talked about what I've done in my old age that I didn't do before. Jigsaw puzzles play a considerable role in that. I think it was when Jean was in the hospital that I began in what we call the health center, not a hospital, that they had jigsaw puzzle out in the hall. I would stop and do a couple of pieces. That was the first time I'd ever done jigsaw puzzles.
Now, John, this is an important question that says a lot about your character. Do you start with the edge pieces first, or do you work from the middle out? What's your strategy?
Well, I normally do the edge first, but in this particular case, the edge was the hardest. And it's got the picture itself. It was not. Oops, pieces are falling off. I better stop showing it. But you can see there's a very wide border, and then the border around the white border is very repetitive, so that it's very hard to figure out. So after I worked on the border for a while, I said, no, I'm going to do the human beings first. The border doesn't really interest me that much, but I went ahead and did it after I got the rest done.
That says a lot. Yeah.
The people over on the far side took me, I mean, their parents and grandparents took me out to eat on Saturday. And they gave me this as a birthday present in pieces. I had to put it together. Yeah, so
John, I wanted to say something. This is Carol, and I remember that I'm missing the fact that you never come and eat lunch with us anymore in Abernathy, because every time I sat at your table, it was like going to another learning event. And I love it. And thank you. And I also remember when Jean was in Robin's Nest at the health center, every day John came and gently fed Jean. And Jean was a crack up in the Robin's Nest. We all enjoyed her because humor was still there, very present. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, well, we divided up jobs between us in some ways very conventionally, but Jean was the owner of the car. And I mean, in the end, Jean drove the car wherever she was sitting. And I found it was pleasanter to have her at the wheel. So she did 95. In the later years, she did all the driving. And one year while I was away, she bought a car without having asked me in advance. It shows a sense of ownership. I think that probably was atypical of families. But
I still have that car. I still have that last car, the 1993 Volvo. So when I started driving John and Jean around, the Volvo had 49,000 miles only. And as John says, Jean always drove no matter where she was sitting.
That was one of the, it was hard in the last months that I was still taking care of in our apartment. It was very hard to get her to dress up, undress, and wash up and all those things. But there was one of the helpers here who would come into the apartment singing. And Jean would join in singing, and then she could get it to do anything. I don't think my singing would have ever accomplished that, but but the comments about her love of music. Thanks to all of you. I don't know how many people are left, but I have appreciated this very much. I'm not sure that any of my hats will work anymore, but that's a very minor price to pay for the joy you've given me this morning. Thank you.